We are live. Welcome to a very exciting CK podcast. I'm with my boy Justin from Just Hoop Talk, a great podcast where they have a bunch of amazing guests. Y'all doing a great job, brother. I'm happy to have you on today. And yeah, the Kings won 116-111. What was your biggest takeaway from tonight?
Biggest takeaway is that if this team is playing at the level that they played at tonight, this is a tough out. We saw them come back from a 10-point deficit. We saw them hit some big shots, and it wasn't just one player. You got multiple players making big-time plays, clutch plays at that, key defensive stops. I think we saw this is the Kings team that I think people expected to see heading into the season.
Absolutely. De'Aaron Fox once again took over in the fourth quarter as he did last game where he made rounds league-wide. Everybody was talking about it. He went perfect from the free throw line. Today, again, he was hot. He dropped 11 dimes. Last game, he dropped 12 dimes. He is becoming, right before our eyes, the main package, right? That upper echelon John Wall that we always wanted to see from John Wall, but he could never develop a jump shot. Even in today's game, like John Wall, even though hasn't played in 2 years and this is his first year back, he still is not consistent with his jump shot. And De'Aaron Fox is beginning to hit his threes. He's beginning to hit those mid-range shots, which were really smooth tonight over contested guys. Bro, the jury is still out on De'Aaron of whether or not he's a number one. Because being a number one to me is like, being like one of the top 7 guys in the NBA. Like, when someone says, are you a number one? I hold that to a high standard, like LeBron James, Giannis, like those type of guys. Even AD to me is not a 1. Like, to me, AD is a 2. And AD is a superstar. So, to me, a 1 is very, very, special. So, do you see De'Aaron Fox taking that step to becoming an all-star this season and potentially one day being a number one? It's hard to really answer that, but can he be an all-star this season?
It's a tough question because the West is already so loaded with talent, with guys that have led teams, and De'Aaron Fox is trying to push that narrative. He's trying to get into that equation. Obviously, you got the contract to match it, and his play tonight, it's tough for me to even say this after watching the game tonight. He played an extremely, extremely talented game tonight at all facets. But De'Aaron Fox, to me, right now, as is not the number one guy. I don't see him as the number one. Not saying he cannot get there. I think there are a few deficiencies in his game that just need to take that consistent level. When we're talking about shooting, we're talking about hitting consistent free throws, consistent energy on defense, man. I really think that he has the potential to lock that all in. He's still young, 23 years old.
Absolutely.
The sky's the limit for this kid, but I think the shooting is the biggest key when it comes to De'Aaron Fox and consistency. If we get this De'Aaron Fox every night, he is an all-star because they'll be winning more basketball games, which is the key for the Kings. De'Aaron Fox, I think, has put up similar lines to this in the past: 22-7, 23-8. Like, he's that kind of player. But when you start adding wins to that and consistency to that, it brings it to a whole new level.
It's everything, man. The Kings improved to 10-11, and they're 10-9 with your boy Tyrese playing. Tyrese has missed those 2 games, and in those 2 games they lost. So with Tyrese, they're 10-9, above 500. That kid is really, really good. Even today, even little things like fouling a 50% free throw shooter in crunch time, up 3. Just knowing those little nuances of the game of basketball shows how much time he spends in the film room. Because if that was the case, a lot of players would be really, really good. But a lot of people, just human nature, right? They like to do what is the minimum. Like, okay, I'm going to work. I'm working 8 to 5. And the ones that go above and beyond are the ones that are great. It's not easy being great. And Tyrese is on that trajectory of being really, really good because he puts the time in the film room. And from an IQ, from a feel, this guy is just so good. He gets it on both ends of the floor. He proves it night in and night out. I mean, what did he not do tonight, man?
I think his shot making ability, his play making ability, and his pace. I think the most valuable part of Tyrese Haliburton's game is his pace. He plays, and I know Kings fans, I'm sorry, I don't mean to throw this name out, But Luka's pace is one of those unmatched paces. You just see the game, it almost moves in slow motion. And I believe that Tyrese Haliburton has that natural feel. He's a rookie that at times he'll look like a rookie, but for 90% of the game, he looks like a vet. He looks like he should be on the court. When you're talking big shots, he's hitting every single clutch shot, even little things like that layup at the end of the third quarter when he knows how much time's on the clock. He's getting in the air, hitting the layup off the glass for the quick jelly underneath. Man, I love this kid's game, and you're looking, Kings fans, you lucked out at 12. You're looking at a future superstar. This is not just an all-star.
Okay.
I don't want to go and say Hall of Fame or anything like that, but this kid is a superstar, somebody that you can build with, long playoff run, championship winner.
That's big time, man. I mean, I see it. Now, is he a natural scorer? He doesn't have to be that natural scorer. You know what I'm saying? He needs to play his game, which, again, is on both ends of the floor. It's making guys better around him. A lot like Jayson Kidd was back in the day, right?
Yep.
Now, I don't think Kidd was as good defensively as Tyrese, and what Tyrese can become defensively is just like top 5 guy. I mean, this guy reads the passing lanes. He's consistently knowing when to double. Just, again, man, I mean, this guy is so good. I don't need him to score 25 a night. You know, if he can down the road average 18 to 20 points a game with 8 to 11 assists a game and 1 or 2 steals a game and just stays true to himself, that's a superstar in my eyes, man. And especially if they get W's, because at the end of the day, this is a result-oriented league. This is all about W's and losses, right?
Absolutely. It's doable. And I think the one area that, you and I have talked in the past about De'Aaron Fox and Haliburton in this combination. I think where there may be some question marks offensively, this duo on defense is going to be a problem for years to come. Not just on ball, but playing passing lanes. If they decide to switch to zones at times, they're both long, quick guards. Like, defensively, this is going to be a problem for the backcourts in the West.
Yeah, now that you mentioned zone, the Miami Heat is the team that plays the most zone, and they had a great zone against the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I went back and I rewatched all that, and I was so amazed because the Heat had Jay Crowder and Jimmy Butler on top, and for the traditional fan, they're like, oh, well, those guys are forwards, but those guys are your athletes, your bulldogs, those are your great anticipatory defenders. As you said, having Tyrese and Fox on top, being able to move, switch, catch, I mean, that is deadly, bro.
It is. And you saw it today, even in the game today, when Haliburton would switch off and Fox would even get matched up on Jayson Tatum. There's a time Tatum shot over the top of him, but they were still able to defend. They were able to contest, which is all you can ask against some of the league superstars. And you got 6'10" Tatum out there, 6'8" Bully Brown. Like, that's a big combo for, 6'3" and 6'5", and to be able to match up with that size, lengthwise, and really not have too big of a deficiency on the floor, you can't ask anything better than that.
Right. I mean, De'Aaron Fox 6'4", Tyrese 6'5", 6'6" for sure. You got size there for sure, and those guys can intertwine right at the point guard and shooting guard. They're big enough to play shooting guard, and even to some extent, Tyrese can play the small forward because he's so versatile, and he can play with guys like Buddy Hield who are strictly there. As of right now, how Luke is using him to be a decoy, to spread the floor, to be the lights out shooter that he really is. But real quick on the Celtics, Jayson Tatum, man, he was 1 rebound away from a triple-double, 27 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds. He's part of that amazing 2017 class that had Donovan Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox, and himself. I mean, this dude is the full package. He's good defensively. He's hitting the three-point shot, which to me was a weakness early in his career. He got that above 40% this season. This dude's a superstar, bro.
And he hits anything. It's contested. It's one motion, 2 motion shots. He hits it all, and he can hit it with the hand in his face. He can hit it on the step back. He can hit mid range. I mean, Jayson Tatum to me is going to be one of these superstars here in this next 10-year period. He will lead the Celtics to a championship at some point because he has the knack for hitting those clutch shots. That's just who he is. And when you talk about having a partner like Jaylen Brown on the floor with you at all times, I think we saw him in the less version of a Jayson Tatum, but those two together are very special as well.
What did you see from Jaylen Brown tonight, though? I know he's been killing it league-wide. Everybody's talking about Jaylen Brown and his improvements. He was 7 of 18 from the field
Yeah.
today, 21 points. Struggled a little bit, but always brings it defensively.
Well, I think there was one possession where he stood with Fox and just took the ball from him straight up, got a fast break layup out of it. That's what he does. He changes. He gives you the -2 that it would be from a layup on the other end and turns it to a +2 from your team. That's what he does. That's what great defenders do. Jaylen Brown, great on both sides of the ball. I think he struggled a little tonight, a little fatigue, but Jaylen Brown is a defender, man. He can guard all positions, wing, post, it doesn't matter.
And as you guys can see on my screen, I got the Say No to Tanking logo, which we've put on a T-shirt, man. On this show, on this platform, we don't believe in tanking, bro. That's just how it is. Right now, the Kings are on a surge. Won the last, I think, 5 or 6 games. They're playing really, really well. But you mentioned a couple of guys, a couple of names today from the 2021 class that I really haven't touched on because I don't care about that class because I want to win games and I want to make the playoffs. That's my mindset. But I'm not stupid either. And I also see the talent in the 2021 draft class. And I know some people will be like, oh, what's Leo doing? Real quick, it ties into what I'm saying. Jaylen Brown, as you guys can see, took some time to develop into what he is today. Now, you brought up a good name today in Jonathan Kuminga, who some people are comparing to Jaylen Brown. What do you like about this kid? And, you know, I don't want to tank, but Jonathan Kuminga is real nice, and he's not even the talk of the class. Like, everybody talks about Jalen Green, Cade Cunningham, and Kuminga may be like one of the best players, if not the best player in this class.
Yeah, and I think with the Kings, it's funny because you can talk about no tanking. I love that too. No tanking. I love the mindset. But when the talent isn't there, sometimes you have to adjust. And whether it's not a tanking mindset, maybe you're not going for the number 1 pick, but if the team is not good enough, chances are you're going to end up in the top 10 anyway, right? So top 10, you're looking at these players. You have to evaluate what talent's there in case a Tyrese Haliburton slides down to you. And in this case, we were talking earlier about Jonathan Kuminga. So I have a chance to cover the Ignite, the G League team with the elite prospects. Veterans are actually going to be playing here in the G League bubble starting on the 10th. This 2021 class actually features 5 players on that team. One of the most notable names is Jalen Green. And Jalen Green's obviously like the showstopper. He's the one who gets all the dunks. But the ones that the coaches are really raving about, I actually sat on a press conference with Brian Shaw, and he was raving about Jonathan Kuminga's ability to be one of the better two-way players immediately upon impact. And if the Sacramento Kings have a top 5 pick, say it happens, and this team struggles a little bit throughout the year and ends up with the top 5 pick, this could be a guy that slides in very nicely at that number 3 right next to Haliburton and Fox. You talk about 6'8",
3-4,
6'8", 220. Yeah, he has the range. He can play the 3 or the 4, but strong and quick. Great finisher, good size. Plays both sides of the ball, which I think for this Kings team is going to be the catalyst that takes them from a fringe playoff team to a contender as the defensive side of the basketball. And getting a guy like Kuminga could be the difference.
Yeah, I mean, again, I always talk about approaching the game with respect. There is no tanking. Now, if you lose games, and there has to be a winner every single night. There's no ties in basketball. This isn't baseball or soccer. Like, there's going to be a winner and a loser. But if you approach the game the right way, good things will happen. Look at Tyrese. He was a number 12 pick. And this is in a class that a lot of people shitted on. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, well, there's no star in 2020, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, fair. I'm looking at this 2021 class. If it's as deep and as good as people say, why wouldn't there be a guy at 12 again? Why wouldn't there be a guy at 14, 15, 16 again? You have to have the right scouting department on par, and they got to do their job. You got to trust your GM to evaluate the right players for this team, and there's no secret. This team is improving. I like the Kings to compete for a 10 seed, for a play-in, and potentially get in the playoffs that way. So, hypothetically speaking, say they get the 10 seed, and they win both of those games, and they make it to the playoffs. I believe they're still positioned to get like a top 14 pick because they were the 10 seed in the West. So, in the perfect world, that could potentially happen. So if that does happen, you have to start looking at these guys, right, that will be around that area. I didn't see Tyrese slip past the Knicks.
The Knicks, man.
Or or or,
Nobody.
or the Suns, who drafted that kid out of Maryland. I was like in shock. I mean, that dude, no disrespect, he's not that good. And can you imagine Tyrese with Chris Paul and Devin Booker? I mean, that 3-guard lineup would be insane. So when he slipped, I was like, what is going on? I mean, is it an agent thing? It was an agent thing. His agent did not allow him to work out for the Suns for the Pistons or the Knicks. So that had a lot to do with it. And sometimes you just get lucky, right? And guys just fall to you, just like De'Aaron fell to the Kings at 5. People were like, "Oh, Vlade drafted." No, like De'Aaron fell to number 5. Like if the Kings had number 1, they would have drafted Markelle Fultz. Or if they had number 2, they would have drafted Josh Jackson. And again, those are okay players, but they're not franchise changers. And that's another term that I want to get into this show is I get frustrated when people tell me that this upcoming class has 5 franchise-altering players that are franchise changers. And I sit there and I think about, even in that great 2017 class, which one of those superstars wasn't even in the top 5, he was number 13 in Donovan Mitchell. And in 2018, we had Luka at 3, which then was really 5 because he got traded. And, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like,
Right.
For people to say year in and year out that there's that 5 dudes, that's never the case, bro. And that's what bugs me, and that's why I don't like to tank. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think there's talent. I think it comes with talent and situation. Because you talk about players who go to the right situation and they're superstars and they show it early on. So even when you're talking about these classes, like we're seeing Michael Porter Jr. emerge out of that same class you were referencing. We're seeing Michael Porter Jr. really start to emerge.
Wasn't a top 5 pick.
He wasn't a top 5 pick. He was 14. So there's a high probability for any of these teams taking risks on a top 5 player for them to strike out. I get it, and I think you're hitting this right on the head. Actually, you got to play your games. You have to play. You have to play every game to win. If you happen to lose, if you're an inferior team, that's fine. If you need to play your young guys towards the end of the season, you still compete. You may lose, but that's part of the game.
Right.
And I get it, man. It's building a culture.
Yep.
More so than even just winning these games, taking a pick. You tell your young guys, Tyrese Haliburton, you tell Fox, hey, we're gonna try to get a low pick this year.
Yep.
They're gonna be like, I don't want to stick around.
No.
This ain't a franchise for me. These guys want to win.
Exactly, and that's the mindset that you gotta have. If you lose, you lose, but don't put out a bunch of rookies out there that aren't ready to play. Don't play guys X amount of minutes that shouldn't be playing X amount of minutes. There are organizational agendas. We all know that. Politics is a big thing in the NBA. But if you approach the game the right way and you play like I would say the last 6 games, Luke, as criticized as he is even not I criticize him. I was tweeting about him, not in a good way. I would say fourth quarter when he had Kojo out there for God knows how long. I mean, Kojo played 20 minutes tonight. That's 8 minutes too long, honestly. And even though, I mean, bro, he had 2 points, 3 rebounds in 20 minutes.
He's that veteran presence, though, man. I think.
But he's not good, though. I mean, he's a fringe NBA player. He's way past his time. He's on $13 million per season. Huh?
I like Kojo, man. I think he has a role, though. I think his role with this team is a little different than he probably thought coming in because they got Haliburton. I think his role's a little different. Kojo, to me, is one of those glue players. You stick him in for the bench. He's a glue player for the bench. He comes in. You have no drop-off. He's consistent.
But you do have a drop-off, though. In my opinion.
Yeah, but you know what you're going to get out of Kojo in 20 minutes.
But you do have a drop-off because when they go to Kojo, they get a lot worse. And, again, it's not just him. It's just the fact that this is the worst bench in the NBA. And that's why I tell people that I would not put Tyrese in the starting lineup because if you take Tyrese out of the bench, then it becomes even worse. Yeah. So I would never want to do that. But, again, I always talk about this. The top 5 guys on this team should be playing 30-plus minutes a night. And it happened again tonight, right, where Tyrese played 30, Buddy 38, Fox 38, Rashawn Holmes played 30 because of foul trouble, Harrison Barnes played 37 minutes, and then Marvin Bagley played 19. And now there's going to be a lot of people that are going to complain, and which doesn't make sense to me because is another fourth quarter where he doesn't play. Now I get it. Now maybe he should have played early in that fourth quarter. Probably should have played. But to ever make an argument to play him over Rashawn Holmes at the 5 in crunch time when you know you got to have Tyrese, who is one of your 5 best players already, he just doesn't make the cut of the top 5. So if you want your best players out there in crunch time, a guy who I can trust to make big-time plays on the defensive end and offensively, that's Rashawn Holmes. And again, no disrespect to Bagley. He's 21 years old. Like, he's going to get his time. Like, there's no need to complain about not playing him. The Kings are winning, man. Just enjoy the fact that the Kings fans don't get many wins. So when I see stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I see stuff like that about Marvin not playing the fourth, I'm like, bro, it just happened that way. And maybe he should have played early, but to play in crunch time, bro, you got to be good, man. And he's not there yet. And I'm okay with him playing 19 to 23 minutes a night. That's developing him the right way, playing meaningful minutes, not playing in garbage time. Like, that's not going to help him. That's not what helps guys develop.
I don't know. So the part with Bagley, it's confusing for me what the role is with Bagley. Like, are they looking for him to become part of this franchise? Are they testing out to see what they have? Because he had a few good moments in the first half. You know, he had some decent possessions. I think he had some bad possessions in the first half as well. But we got to see what he does, what he brings to the table. I think you mentioned the biggest part of that, though. He's not one of the 5 best players right now on the floor. And unfortunately, in order to put him in the game, you have to take somebody else out.
Yeah.
And I don't think that player is right now. I don't see it. And he's not consistent enough. I think the consistency is a big factor with this Kings team. Obviously, youth has to do with that. But consistency is a big thing. And I don't think Bagley is consistent enough to overtake anybody in that lineup right now.
Exactly. And let's talk about Harrison Barnes real fast. This dude is Mr. Steady. He's smooth. This is the best Harrison Barnes we've ever seen in his career. And I'm surprised it's taken this long, right? But, you know, this happened to Steve Nash, bro. Like, Steve Nash wasn't that good with the Mavericks. And as soon as he got traded to the Suns, I'm not saying HG's going to become an MVP, but some guys, it just takes longer to just get it. It takes guys to click up here. And it seems like for Harrison Barnes, he's going to give you 17, 18 consistently. And on a good night like tonight, 24 points, 5 boards, 6 assists, just steady, good defense on, even though Jayson got a lot of points, like Jayson had to earn those points. Yeah. And that was Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, and Harrison Barnes, I really like his game and where he's taking it. You know, we saw him kind of be just a 3D guy in Golden State. In Dallas, we saw him kind of just be outcast and not really have a fit. He wasn't really part of the offense. They tried to, and it didn't work. And even with this Kings team early on, we saw Harrison Barnes not really have too much. We didn't know his role. And it's like now we're seeing him kind of do everything. He's that glue guy that we talked about earlier, coming in, making huge defensive plays, being a facilitator, being a rebounder, and a scorer for this team. I think the underrated aspect of his game this year is how much he's improved scoring the basketball. He's not just a 3D guy anymore as he was coming into the league. He's definitely found his pace. And when you talk about, you know, those veteran players that you have to have around the youth guys, to be honest, I never really thought Harrison Barnes would be that dude. But it seems like he's kind of turned a corner, almost a resurgence in his career. And a lot of the expectations that were coming out early on in his career, he's finally starting to hit, man. I like what I'm seeing out of him. I don't know if this is a short-term thing, but he looks comfortable in this offense. He looks comfortable with the teammates around him. And he's balling right now, man.
100%, bro. Buddy Hield, you know, not a great shooting night. But again, as I tell people when I break down film, there is a huge difference between specialties in the NBA. You know, people want to talk about Hassan Whiteside being a great shot blocker, which he is. But if you watch Hassan Whiteside like tonight, there was so many times where I want to rip off all this curly hair, all this Patrick Mahomes shit that I got, right? And I was like, bro, he just kills me with the stuff that he does. He's a lot like Andre Drummond, man, where, yes, they're box score guys, and yes, they'll get you 10 and 11, you know, rebounds and a few blocks, but it's just not worth playing them massive minutes, man. And the difference between a specialist that blocks shots and a specialist that shoots three and makes threes and wants to make tough shots like a Buddy Hield, The fact that he's a decoy out there, he gives space to everybody, especially Fox, who needs those angles and those lanes to drive. Yeah. And teams are so afraid of Buddy shooting that shot because they know he's above 40%. He's one of the best shooters in the entire world, and they will want to take the ball away. The same how the Heat, how teams play the Heat. They want to take Duncan Robinson away. That's what the Lakers did in the NBA Finals. They said, if we take Duncan away, hey, guess what? We will win the basketball game. Because when Duncan is hitting, everything else opens up for everybody else. KD on his post game when they beat him by 2 points about a week and a half ago when it was Nets and Heat, he literally said, like, this is KD saying it, that our job was to stop Duncan Robinson verbatim. So this is the game plan for teams coming in to Sacramento to play the Kings, is to take away Buddy Hield, because if he struggles, most of the time the Kings struggle. And lately that he's been playing well and shooting the ball a lot better, the Kings have gone on a win streak. There's no secret to that, man. And the fact that he's so elite at what he does gives guys like Tyrese lanes to attack and kick out, gives Fox and HB the opportunities, because teams will rather live with Fox and HB shooting the shot, even if Buddy goes 3 of 11. Like, they cannot see him shooting the ball. That's just what elite guys do, though. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that when you're that elite, you bring that much value to the floor. Now, I get it. Yes, he has some blurbs on defense sometimes, and this year has been his best defensive year by far. But Hassan Whiteside, his shot blocking ability doesn't bring enough value to consistently keep him on the floor for more than 20 minutes a night, man.
Well, we saw the bigs getting foul trouble today, so we got to see a little bit more of
exactly. That's why, yeah,
than we probably would have.
Right.
But the point about Buddy Hield is really interesting to me, because this team ticks. The reason why they tick when he's on the floor and he's hitting shots is because now the guards can be guards. They don't only have to just become scorers. When you're making De'Aaron score 25, 30 a night, that may not be the best game for De'Aaron, even though it pushes the team to a different level. Like, that may not be the best game plan for the team. But if you're you're turning De'Aaron Fox into a scorer, now that takes away the facilitation of the offense. Tyrese Haliburton, Harrison Barnes. Now everybody has to pick up the slack because there's not really a huge deep bench. Now everybody else has to pick up the scoring slack. When if Buddy's scoring 20, 25 a game, now everybody else has freedom. Now everybody has easier buckets. They can make the right pass, the right decision, and not have to worry about, hey, we're down by 10. I got to play hero ball in order to get us in. I think when the team is hitting shots like tonight, it's not as evident. You're going to be like, right, all right, the team doesn't really need Buddy. But when the team's missing those shots and they're losing those games, it's a lot more evident.
But even at 3 of 10 from beyond the arc today, 5 of 16 overall, not a great shooting night, but he had 11 rebounds, 15 points. He found a way, and he's learning still. Like, he's not young, but he's young and experienced, where he's still developing his game, trying to find ways to contribute. And, you know, early on this year, he's accepted the fact that he's not being used like Dave Yeager used him, right, in a different up-tempo system. Now he's more of the last man, sit in the corner type, spread out the floor in the 5-out offense for De'Aaron Fox type guy, which he's learning to accept that and now learning how to contribute with that. And there's a lot of times in film session when I'm like, there needs to be more weak side action, more down screens with Tyrese and Buddy, because when you just ball watch and you watch De'Aaron go one-on-one, you're so easy to be guarded. I mean, that's like 24-hour fitness basketball. Like, sometimes you just watch a guy go one-on-one, you're like, no, what I'm doing is like, dude, hey, go set a back screen, because now that creates confusion amongst the other guys. And as I always say, when you put guards in situations to communicate on defense, for the most part, unless they're elite defenders like a Tyrese or Jimmy Butler, they will not communicate very well. They will lose their man, and there will be some type of confusion, which will then get you a quality shot, and which is why I hate when guys stand and just ball watch on the weak side. But again, 15-11 tonight, big-time game from Buddy Hield in a different way.
11 is huge, because I think that's the part of Buddy's game that everybody is looking for. What can you do on the floor if you're not hitting shots?
Exactly.
You're not dropping 20. What else are you bringing to the table?
Exactly.
And you can bring 11 boards here and there, 6 assists here and there, 2 to 3 steals here and there. it's production on the floor that they're missing out of Buddy, and I think that he's playing at a very high level this year, higher than I've seen him play in a long time.
Yeah, man, he's playing well as of late. So kudos to him. Last guy we can talk about is Rashawn Holmes, and a lot of people took out my tweet out of context Monday night.
Man.
I mean, I said Kings fans disrespect Rashawn Holmes in the sense I never said hate. Like, that never came out of my tweet, my fingers, my mouth. Obviously, I know people love Rashawn Holmes, but they love him because the casual fan only sees he's an energy guy, so he's replaceable. What I mean by disrespect is that this man does so much more than just the 13 and 8 that he provides every single night. He does the little things. I mean, he's second in field goal percentage in the NBA. He's top 10 shot blocker. He runs up and down. He sets really good screens, stuff that don't show up in box scores. He doesn't make very much mistakes. I mean, this guy is going to get paid. And if you offer him, if you try to lowball this guy, 12, 13 million per season, he's going to walk away. Now, someone said, oh, well, Harold took 10 million by Lakers. Yeah, but the Kings aren't the Lakers, okay? That was a very different situation, a very rare situation where he could have taken a lot of money to go play in Charlotte. They had offered him the bag. And that's what's going to happen with Rashawn Holmes. I'm guaranteeing right now that he's going to require 15 to 18 million per season. And that's where the disconnect is with Kings fans. They don't believe me, and they don't think that he's worth 15 to 18. And that's why I said they disrespect him in that way, because if Miles Turner, for Pete's sake, is getting paid $18 million a year, you better believe Rashawn Holmes is worth that money. If Andre Drummond is getting paid $20+ million a year, you best believe this guy is worth at least $15 million per season, man. And that's what I meant by disrespect. But, of course, just a lot of – and I hate to say it, people think I'm disrespectful or I'm not professional because I call them sheep. But the Twitter sheep was out after me, man. And they always be taking my stuff out of context. I am who I am. I'm going to continue to be who I am. If I'm brash and I'm honest, hey, bro, that's just who I am, man.
No, and I hear you, man. I hear you because I think the underrated take is from Kings fans, you're not necessarily expecting, like, Rashawn Holmes to be that guy. You sign him on, it was a small deal when he first came on.
Yep, it was very small.
And he bench player coming from Philly. So the expectation, I think a lot of Kings fans are like, hey, this guy is really good. Is he just good because he's on the Kings? Is he just good because he's getting minutes? And he proved last year when he first came on that he's more than an energy guy. He brings difference-making plays to the team. Now, the part that I think I'm uncertain about is he an 18 to 20 mil guy? Because when you compare him to a lot of the other centers, the difference-making is...
He's a 15 to 18 to me. Not 18 to 20. He's 15 to 18 to me.
Okay, so say he's there. Can he turn it on to a different level? Now, the energy guy, I think he's definitely more than that. But can he become a 15-point, 17-point scorer if needed? And that's why you pay a guy like Miles Turner, because he can step up and be an 18-20 guy if you needed him to. Can he do it? I don't know. We haven't seen him have to have that responsibility yet. But I think you're making a good point in that if you want to keep the talent that you have, sometimes you do have to pay up to keep home talent, because the Kings obviously aren't a market that just draws tons of free agents. So when you have a guy that loves the city, that plays hard, that wants to be here, and is part of this youth movement, if you want him, pay up.
Couldn't say it any better, bro. I mean, that's perfectly said. People need to understand that guys will get overpaid in Sacramento. Harrison Barnes, Buddy Hield, they were a tad overpaid. But right now, the way that they're playing, nobody's complaining. And if the Kings are winning, nobody's going to complain. But if you see Rashawn Holmes in Boston, in L.A., in Philadelphia, like these championship contending teams, like you'd be like, oh, my God, we have Rashawn. Yeah, you had Rashawn Holmes, because I can easily see Rashawn Holmes be a killer in Boston. Are you serious? Rashawn Holmes on Boston? He is way better than what's his name from
who? Daniel Tice?
White guy, yeah, Tice. He's better than Williams. I mean, and they got the other short Williams playing center at times. Come on, man, don't disrespect him, man. This guy is going to get paid, and if he gets lowballed, 12, 13 million, which is what Kings fans think he's worth, he's going to walk. Factual.
It depends on Holmes. It depends on if he wants the bag or if he wants to go play for a contender.
Right.
I think he likes the city, and I think if they pay him the right amount, he'll stay. I think if not, he might even take less. He might take that 11, 12 you're talking about.
If he goes to like a contender.
Right, but it'll be on a contender.
On a contender. In Sacramento, he got to get paid minimum $15 million, man. That's just how I see it. That's what I'm hearing, honestly. That's how I feel. Like, if I'm his agent, I'm going to bat for him and be like, hey, man, it makes sense. And to your point, when you said, can he be that 15 to 17 point guy right now? He's at 13. To me, the evolution of his game is, as I pointed out on film today, I said, look, on this shot, guys will play off of him. They'll sag off. Why? Because he hasn't shot that ball with consistency. Because he really hasn't even attempted those shots. Yeah. Can he develop a consistent mid-range jump shot? I believe he can. He's shooting the free throw line. He's over 80%. He was 83% last year. He's above 80% this year. I know it can translate. And that's the thing. Like, you're an okay shooter when you can shoot from the free throw line. So, to answer that question, can he be that guy? I believe he can, and that's the evolution to his game. If he can just start hitting the mid-range free throw line extended jump shot, I think it's going to do wonders for his game, man. And then teams are going to be like, oh, my God, like, pick your poison.
Yeah, he's limited with his post game.
Yep.
I think if he can hit the mid-range, and obviously he's got the little jump hook, the little push shot, as they like to call it. He's got that down pat. But if he can add a little bit more mid-range or some better post moves, I think he'll be on his way. But he has to develop that part of his game too, and that's part of the process.
And that's another thing that somebody just in the chat box just brought up. California tax is not the best, and I've heard from multiple players on this team throughout the years that they really hate that, man. I mean, they're not getting. So it's just hypothetically say, if you're making $15 million, you ain't making $15 million in California, bro. So that's another major reason why guys can elect to go to Texas, to Florida, to those type of states where there is no state tax. So that's a big incentive for guys.
Yeah, I'll take the tax if I'm going to go play with the Warriors, the Lakers. Yeah, you might take the tax then, man.
And that's exactly why I am referring to at least the $15 million. I know some people are in the comments talking about Bags. And again, man, I think Bags with time is going to be good. Now, will it be on this team? I don't know that. Like, I really don't. And sometimes guys need change of scenery. Just like Sabonis. Like, Sabonis had to be on his third team, right? Was it his third team when he got traded? So let me think about that. He was on OKC, and then he went to the Pacers. Okay, so second team. So it took a trade for him to become what he is, and to me, that's the barometer for Bagley to me, because Sabonis is just, he's such a stud, bro. I mean, all-star. If he can become Sabonis in a few years, I'd be very happy. Now, I would love for that to happen in Sacramento, but sometimes the cards aren't dealt that way, man. And I don't know what's going to happen at the deadline. He's improving every single game. Now, I don't agree with Doug Christie and everybody else on Twitter glorifying his every simple NBA basic reading year 3. I mean, come on, bro. Even his intent.
To be honest, about Bagley, though, man, I think this Kings team is just a bad fit. Honestly, when you look at the way that Bagley plays, he needs 30 to 35 minutes a game. He needs the ball in his hand a little bit more than he's going to get on this team, too.
But he's not that good yet, though.
But we have to see that. And he probably has to come on a bad team with those type of minutes.
And we ain't got time to take that. That's the thing. Like, I understand it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, you got to develop him. But at the cost of losing games, I'm not about losing games, bro. And that's the thing. Like, and that's what scares me about this upcoming class, and every class, really. Honestly, it's taken De'Aaron 3.5 years to become what he is. So imagine your guy and Cade and Jaylen. Yeah. Like, how long is it going to take these guys?
But
like,
what if you miss, though? What if you give up too early? And I'm not. This is not a comparison.
Right.
This is. What if he's Giannis? You know what I mean? Like, what if he ends up? What if you? I'm not saying that Bagley's Giannis.
Yeah.
Please don't take that the wrong way.
Yeah.
But what if it takes a little bit longer for him to develop, and now he becomes a game-changing player? We know the skill set. We know what he can become. 20 and 10 is somewhere there. We know that Bagley has 20 and 10 in him. Whether it's consistently or not is the issue. But what if it takes him 3 to 4 years? Are you willing to give up on that player to not see that all the way through? And the Kings are at year 3 with him. One more year, You know what I mean? Like I think that's probably what Kings fans are hoping for. It's like we don't want to give up another great player.
But the scary part and the other side of the coin is that say he kind of shows that, right, in flashes. Mm-hmm. Now his rookie contract is up. And guess what?
Yeah.
Number 2 picks got to get paid. And I'm not about that, bro. And that's the thing. Like, they require, as Fox did, they require max type deals. Now, are you willing to give this man with his father, knowing that he's a distraction, knowing that he's not consistent, knowing that he has no right hand, knowing that he's, I can go on and on about his deficiencies. Knowing all these things, are you willing to give this guy a max contract?
I think
it's tough, bro. It's tough.
You got to have 30 to 35 minutes with him to see if he's a max player. There's the team that trades for him, because it will happen. There's going to be a team that trades for him. The team that trades for Marvin Bagley has to give him time to play. They have to see what they have, because he's going to show it on the court if he's a max guy or not. If he's even a 20 mil guy, a 15 mil guy, he has to have that time to prove it. I think his game has to have the opportunity. He can't get 19 minutes like tonight and not play in the fourth quarter. Whether it's deserved or not, if you have that kind of talent, you invested that draft pick, he's young, like you have to see what you have when it comes to players like that. We've seen it before with them. The consistency, and like you said, some of the deficiencies will work themselves out like they always do with young players. But you got to give them a chance, man. I just don't see it on the Kings. And the Kings are one of the top, the bottom third of the league right now. And if he can't get 30 to 35 on there, where's he going to get it?
It's a good question. The Thunder, I'm thinking he ain't getting out in the Knicks because they got a guy by the name of Julius Randle who is, again, that's another guy who in, I don't know, what is this, year 6, year 7, it's clicked up here. Again, he could be Julius Randle in 3 years. Seriously, he could. It just sometimes fans, just in sports in general, fans don't have the patience to just wait for guys to develop. They're seeing what Luka does. I don't see a Luka in the upcoming draft. And what I mean by Luka is a guy that can make an impact like that. Like he's that. Like we knew he was that guy since the first day he touched the basketball against that Chinese team. So I don't know, man. I
don't know. It's tough to give up on a player like that too.
It is
number 2 overall. Like it's just tough to give up on a player like Bagley, who I think the fan base is probably harder on him than they need to be as a young player.
Yep.
I think you might be a little harder on him than you need to be, just because the expectation is so much, man. It's like you've seen flashes. You know he can get better. Does he want to get better? Does he want to be here? Does he want to help eliminate distractions? Does he want to be a part of this team and take the next level? I think that's the biggest question. If it's not here, then where is it? Like, I know they're talking about Phoenix. I don't see that happening. I don't see him getting the minutes that he's going to need in Phoenix. They have a bunch of young guys there too. Like you said, OKC.
Even Aiden, though, Aiden hasn't even proven to be that guy. He hasn't even lived up close to being that number 1 pick, and it takes time. And again, fans are not willing to wait, man, and that's just how it is. And as you said, I don't want to clear out the whole damn floor, feed him in the post, acting like he's a Zebo, when every time he does that, we know what's going to happen. It's going to be it's a turnover waiting to happen. Now, if he plays within himself, if he plays within the flow of the offense, right? If he's setting a good screen and he's rolling and he catches the ball in the mid while rolling and he either goes with the jump hook or he just goes with this mid-range shot, I am A-okay. But when he says, hey, clear out, like, bro, what are you doing? You have not earned that right to say clear out, and you're not that strong to back anybody down. And that's just the honest truth. Guards punk him. That's because he's so thin still. He's so young still that, again, man, he also has to understand that. And again, Team Ignite is a great example. I hope there are guys on that coaching staff, trainers who are telling these guys, don't expect to be the guy from day one. And I think those are the false expectations that fans, that players go into organizations thinking, man, I'm the man. Like, no, bro, you're not. This is a grown man league, okay? What you got to focus on is playing defense and contributing in different ways. You're not going to score 20 points your rookie season because you're not that good. That makes sense. Like, this is also an organizational thing. This is also AAU thing, a parent thing. They are at fault for these players having these fake expectations, man.
It's tough. It's tough because the mentality's there, but you also don't want the player to lose that too. You don't want them to lose the dog. And there's certain players that have dog mentality. I can't tell you, to be honest, if Bagley is dog, not dog, but you don't want players that want to be alphas, that are drafted to number 2 to be alphas, to be best player on the team type players, to lose that as well. I get it, because you have to do the little things in order to earn your time. That's why we see Tyrese Haliburton on the floor so much, because he does the little things that count in games to get wins. Now with Bagley, I think we haven't seen enough 30, 35-minute stretches to warrant a valid opinion on that, yes or no. It's just not going to happen on the Kings. It's not. And so whether he can grow
it can
out
happen. I mean, if they start losing and if they start tanking, like, it could happen. But as of right now, as of today, and this is the thing, right? 2 weeks ago when they went on that huge losing streak, Bagley was playing 30-plus minutes, right? And I'm like, okay, they're low-key tanking. That's what gives you the signs of whether or not a team is tanking, when they're developing certain guys. And we know that if they try and win games, there is no room for them to play 30 minutes. And just be honest, if you're not one of the top 5 guys, you should not be playing 30-plus minutes. And that's just the case right now in his development. It's not my fault, your fault, the Kings' fault that he got injured in year 2. Like, it's not his fault.
Nope.
It happened that way. But if he starts to play now, if he starts killing like 20 points at the half, then yeah, I mean, that's going to warrant you and get you those minutes. But if you're just playing the way you are within yourself, I think that's a more valuable experience, to be honest, because if you play on the playoffs and you get those minutes, to me that's more than playing 30-plus minutes on a bad losing team. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, because they're winning minutes. They're important minutes. It's
Yeah.
value, you know? And I think where we haven't seen Bagley, where a lot of people thought he would be better, is on the defensive end, too. Blocking more shots, getting more active with his hands. We haven't really even seen that from him in his career. You know, I think we've seen flashes, but we haven't seen it on a consistent level. I don't know, man. I don't know what he wants. Or he's just a young player, man. So
Yep.
Do you wait on him? As a Kings fan, you have to really ask yourself, are we that far away from making the playoffs and making a deep run in the playoffs that we want to wait to see what we have? Or do we move on from that? It's kind of like when you hire somebody. You got to hire quick, fire quick. If you see that, you're like, all right, we can get at least a piece that helps us. Do you acquire that now so that you have a hope of winning this season, next season? Or do you wait and say, hey, I'm cool with waiting. If it works, we'll win in 3-4 years?
It's perfectly said, man. That is perfectly said.
I mean, the Giannis thing, like I said, it's not a talent thing. I want to compare it to situation. Giannis is like, he's the perfect, pristine example of if it works. If he's 3-4 years, you're able to build the body, put in the work, become that leader. Now you have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, now you have that.
But Giannis was he was so good in summer league. Like, you knew what he was. Just like Donovan Mitchell. The first day I saw that kid play in Vegas, I was like, oh my God. And I was the only guy in the media at the time that had him going 10 to the Kings. And it was because of his defensive ability. And it was because of, actually, if you looked at the actual tape, he was actually good in the pick and roll. And that's what people said. What is he? Is he a point guard? Is he a shooting guard? I said, I don't care. He's a good basketball player. And that's the thing. Like, you try to put good basketball players in. When I watched them play, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, he's going to be so good. And when I watched Giannis play, Marvin does not give me those vibes. Again, it's not that he doesn't have the talent to be Giannis. It's just that, actually, yeah, he doesn't have the talent to be Giannis. Let's be honest. Like, it's just hard to compare. I get it. Like, he's lanky, right? Like, he's long. Like, besides that, though, there is no comparison between their games, like, at all.
No.
Like,
I think
at
it's
all.
more so the situation. More so the situation than anything. He's going to take time. He's not going to grow into – he's not going to fully develop into his body. He's not going to fully develop his game until he's probably 24, 25. Straight up. That's just who he is. And if the Kings want to wait until then, I think then that's the game plan. You have to almost build pieces around him instead of building it around De'Aaron and Haliburton. So it's a tough side of coin, man. I like to be honest, I like Bagley. I think he
Me too.
has potential to be a good player in the future.
Me too. I do.
Is that right now on this Kings team? I don't think so.
And that's the thing. I may even take a risk and give him that market value of paying him on upside in a year and a half from now. Like, because his trade value isn't high at all right now. So I may have to bite the bullet and say, you know what? F it. I'm going to pay him X amount of dollars and wait and see what he can become. Doesn't matter what fans think. This is my investment. I see a bright future in him. I see the talent, and you may very well have to pay him. Now, the Pelicans said, hell no to Lonzo Ball, another number. No, it is a good point, though. The number 2 pick in the 2017 class, they said, nah, we'll roll the dice. That's exactly what they said this year. And the Kings could be that team next year. They may roll the dice. And if they roll the dice and he plays well, he ain't coming back because his dad don't want to be here. And those are the risks that you will take from an organizational standpoint. A lot of interesting stuff, man. Lonzo, I think is a good player. He's just not the number 2 pick in that draft. You know what I mean?
It's when you get drafted at a high level and you don't meet expectations, it takes you a little bit longer to develop. Does the franchise have enough time to wait on you? And have you shown enough that says, hey, we still want to invest in you year 4 when we have to make a crucial decision for our franchise? Have you shown us enough without the minutes that every star player needs? Have you shown us enough that we want to invest in you? Like Lonzo Ball to me is a really good player. He's a really good player.
He is.
I just don't think the Pelicans are going to re-sign him.
No.
Just straight up.
I mean, they're trying to trade him right now.
And it sucks because Lonzo is the same case where he has a strong father figure that is a little outspoken at times.
Yep.
The talent level, the fans are expecting something that they're not getting, so now they're harder on them. And they have a high valuation draft pick, number 2. So now their expectation meter is so high that they can't meet the expectations early on. And it's a tough pill to swallow.
And that's the thing. If I'm the Kings and I can get Lonzo on the cheap and then convince him to re-sign, that is an asset to have. Can you imagine a 3-guard lineup between Hallie, Fox, and Lonzo? The playmaking, obviously, the shooting will be kind of like tempted.
A lot of bricks.
Right. Yeah, like the shooting isn't great, but the defense, Lonzo, one of the better defensive guards in the game.
Yeah.
And, along with Fox and Hallie, I mean,
Haliburton.
This is a team that can switch their identity to literally Grizzlies, like grind just grind out games, play really good defense. Just try and find. I mean, Thibodeau would be the perfect coach for a 3-guard lineup like that, right? A guy that just plays you a lot and wants you to play defense. Just look at the Knicks, the best defensive team, but also the worst offensive team. I've never seen anything like that, to be honest with you. Like, it's crazy.
I think even with the 3-guard lineup, though, like we saw today, I know the Kings are trying to play the 3-guard lineup a little bit more. We saw even Kojo with Haliburton and Fox at times today. And Lonzo would be a good fit there. I think in today's game, though, you got to have the shooter. You got to have the consistent shooter. And if we talked about Fox, obviously, earlier, we talked about the inconsistency there. Halliburton's going to he's already a good shooter with whatever awkward stroke that he has. He's a good shooter.
He is.
But you got to have another more consistent buddy on the floor that can play defense. I'm not sure Lonzo's a great fit. Defensively, it would be lovely basketball to watch. I don't know if it equates to wins on the long term, though.
That's the thing, though. If hypothetically, in the perfect world, if he can replace Kojo with Lonzo, you're winning. But that's the thing. Why would the Pelicans want another $12 million of Kojo the following year? And that's where I don't see anybody taking that contract. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be hard to trade Kojo. Yeah. No, Dwayne Dedmon got traded, so anything's possible last year. Okay? And I like Dedmon as a person. Like, great guy. Got to interact with him a couple times. But my God, the Hawks literally took the contract and then cut him.
But I think Kojo on the team is okay. You get the veteran presence there in the backcourt, and for whatever he lacks on the
So would you pay him, if you're a GM, would you pay him $13 million a season?
I mean, I'm not a GM, man. So I'm not going to go there.
I mean, he's not worth $13 million. Yeah, I mean, He's not worth $13 million, but that's what Vlade paid him, and that's one of the things that this new GM, this new regime, they got to take care of this issue. I mean, it's an issue because they're all about flexibility. I mean, that's the key word that Monty has used: flexibility, flexibility.
And that's why I think that a Bagley trade is imminent, because if you look at Holmes, he's probably going to want some money. Bagley, if you try to keep him for another year, going to want some money. And you already got enough invested into Barnes right now, Buddy, and De'Aaron. You start looking at the numbers. Does it equate for a big contract for Bagley and a Holmes? I'm not sure that it does. It's a tough decision the organization is going to have to make. But Bagley could I think Bagley could either reel a really nice draft pick, or he can reel in another veteran piece that fits this lineup a little bit better.
Absolutely, man. And as you guys know, y'all can get the Say No to Tanking t-shirts, hoodie, mask in the link on our online store. Make sure to hit the like or dislike. We don't care. It helps us out either way. It helps the algorithm, guys. Where can people find your work, brother?
Yes, Justin Henry with Just Hoop Talk. Me and my co-host Will Thompson, man.
Shout out to Will.
Yes, putting on for Sacramento, man. We're on YouTube and all streaming platforms. We have a video podcast. You can also listen to us in audio format. Talk to us. We talk back, man. All teams, all hoop, all the time.
And real quick to my boy Jelly, man, you're right, bro. Anybody that's comparing, he said, quote, Bagley way different from Willie Cauley-Stein. You disrespectful as fuck. 1,000% agree with you, bro. Like, anybody that's trying to compare Willie to Bagley is disrespectful. Like, Marvin is 10 times a player Willie will ever be. And Willie to me is like the fastest big man in basketball. And if he loved basketball, which he doesn't love basketball because he loves other things, which he's a great human being, great guy, but he doesn't love basketball. Like, Bagley, in my heart, I believe that he loves basketball. And it's only a matter of time. But the thing is, are you willing to wait for this guy to develop? That's the question. I think he's going to be a really good player. But for anybody that's trying to compare Willie to Marvin, man, I mean, it's apples and oranges, bro. I mean,
they don't play the same type of role.
Yeah,
same type
man.
Of
I mean,
player, they're a little different.
Let's not disrespect Bagley like that, though. But yeah, man, I appreciate every single one of you guys. Make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe. Hit us up on iTunes, drop a review on there. We're always available on Instagram. What's your handle, bro, so people can find you?
Just Hoop Talk. If you're looking for me, it's Just Influencer on IG. You can find me on all platforms as well. But if you're looking for the podcast, it's Just Hoop Talk, all platforms.
All right, man. We appreciate all you guys, man. It was an honor, man. Bro. It was a pleasure to have you on. Got to have you on again very, very soon. Maybe for another post-game show very, very soon. If you have the time. I know you big time and you busy, man. But if you make time for me, bro, we got it.
It's all good. It's all love, man. We can definitely talk, especially after we get to see a little bit more of this G League action, man. I'll have some more insight for Kings fans looking for 2021 picks.
All right, y'all. Thank you guys so much. It was a great 57 minutes. We see you guys on the next one.